Is the player a narcissist? Many people will talk about an individual being known as a player, invariably a label which is applied to a man, and one who is seen as being superficial, who has a number of relationships with women on the go at once and doesn't commit to any of them. Interestingly, the concept of player is addressed by one of the large dating sites, eHarmony, and in a section called Love Decoded, an article was written by somebody called Fran Crefield, which is headed How to Spot a Player. It is interesting and instructive to look at this article because it references the idea of a player and then to enable us to determine, is the player somebody who will be better titled as a narcissist? The article reads as such: a player, defined most simply as someone who fakes a serious degree of romantic interest while often conducting several similar relationships simultaneously, is deceptive and manipulative by nature. Let's pause there. Does that ring any bells? Someone who fakes a serious degree of romantic interest, often conducting several similar relationships simultaneously. Deceptive and manipulative by nature. The fact is that an individual who is expressing a serious romantic interest in somebody whilst keeping options open with other individuals, and either not telling the individual who is the focus of the serious romantic interest, or telling them, but in a way which forces that individual to work harder to gain the affection of the individual, is exhibiting a lack of emotional empathy. The fact is that somebody who is faking a serious degree of interest in another human being, where it is of a romantic nature, is showing a sense of entitlement to behave in that way. Is showing a lack of accountability towards the potential relationship which might come together, or is already in hand. They're exhibiting a lack of emotional empathy towards that person, because they are misleading them. Of course, as you know, where a lesser or mid-range narcissist engages in such behaviour, they don't realise that they are faking it. They believe at the time that their interest is genuine. Of course, if you were to point to the evidence to suggest, how can your interest in person A be genuine when you're still seeing person B and C? Of course, they will deny and deflect as part of nullifying the threat to control that has arisen. They are unable to see the fact that they are conducting several relationships at once, or at least a minimum of two, is deceitful, is belying emotional empathy. Even if they were to say, well, they both know that I'm interested in somebody else, behaving in that manner demonstrates a lack of emotional empathy. And people fall for it because they think, oh, well, we're not exclusive, and we're not talking about after one or two dates. We're talking about after a period of time where it has become serious. The fact that that individual is saying, I've expressed a serious interest in you romantically, but just so you know, I am continuing to date other people. That doesn't excuse it. All that's happening there is you're being blatantly triangulated. And if you go along with it, then you are giving control to the narcissist, and you are enabling that narcissist to carry on with the belief that, well, I was honest with her, I told her that I was seeing other people. But the fact is, that still belies an absence of emotional empathy. The very definition of a player, as described in that article, and one which would be found in roughly similar terms elsewhere, encapsulates the behaviour of a narcissist. Somebody who comes along where, lesser or mid-range, believes that they're very interested in you, believes that they love you, believes that they care about you, but they can't because they have an absence of emotional empathy, or where greater or ultra knows that they don't, but goes along with it because of the need to control you, is part of the narcissistic dynamic and accords with the way that a player would behave. the creation of an illusion of somebody who is interested in you. Also, the fact of having other similar relationships ongoing at the same time demonstrates a sense of entitlement and an absence of emotional empathy, hallmarks of the narcissist. The article continues by stating, when one enters your life, you could be forgiven for believing that they are the answer to your prayers, which is exactly what they want. Again, we come across by looking like that knight in shining armour, the wonderful, interesting person, and of course we mirror your interests, we mirror your dislikes, so that we appear heaven-sent. And similarly here, where the article describes us as people believing that we are the answer to their prayers, also demonstrates that manner by which we arrive with all of the mirroring, all of the benign manipulations. The article continues, the beginning of a relationship with a player will usually feel like a whirlwind. Exchange whirlwind for the love bombing. The article continues, their charm, enthusiasm, and interest in your life can feel irresistible. Many narcissists, not all, exhibit considerable charm. There is high energy directed towards you. The feigning of interest, albeit where less from mid-range, it is a genuine belief of it is a real belief in that interest, of showing interest in what you like to do, the things you like to go, places where you like to go to, the things that you like to eat, the music, the books, all of those things. And of course, it does indeed feel irresistible because it appears to accord with what you want, hence why we're doing it, and of course, driven by the emotional thinking as part of the addiction. The article continues, they will work hard to make you believe very quickly that your life has no value without them. Indeed, as part of our manipulation of you, we will isolate you from interfering influences which might affect our control over you. We build you up to believe that you are special and wonderful, and that we monopolize your time so that you become involved with us and more reliant upon us. The article continues, before long they are central to your life and may try to ingratiate themselves with your family and friends too. Look out for boastful, unsubstantiated claims, a lack of information about themselves, and flashy or grandiose plans. If it all seems too good to be true, it probably is. Again, what is being described? We're central to your life. We monopolize your time. We have to take over everything and control you. Try to ingratiate themselves with your family and friends too. Indeed. We will assert control over those individuals because they come on the radar, but part of controlling them enables us to control you. And of course, with the mid-range and greater narcissists, what you're looking at is the creation of the facade that we are this kind, generous, supportive, decent human being, so that all your friends and family like us. And of course, because we need to assert control instantly, the ingratiation must be swift, intense, fast. The article warns you to look out for boastful, unsubstantiated claims, the grandiosity of the narcissist, prone to exaggeration, the telling of lies, the embellishment, the false self. A lack of information about themselves, hiding in vagueness, the acquisition of character traits, the superficiality. It references flashy or grandiose plans, part of the bribery and the flattery and the grandiosity that comes with the narcissist. Again, this description of the player fits entirely with that of the narcissist. The article continues. The aim of a player is to win your affection, and the marker they use to judge this is often sexual. They have made their conquest. This demonstrates the achievement of control over the appliance. The article states, for others, it'll be when you say you love them, or in extreme cases agree to marry them. Whatever the challenge, once it is achieved, the tide can suddenly turn as he or she backs off and you are left waiting. Of course, they identify the dynamic of the push and the pull, the sudden attraction, and then the backing off. What they don't recognise, of course, is the distinction between the shelving behaviour that can go on where several intimate partner secondary sources are being juggled at the same time, A player typically will do that, having many candidates in the race to become the intimate partner primary source. The article continues, you may find yourself spending money, time and energy to lure them back. And of course, this is the unaware victim, trying to make things right, trying to get time with the narcissist, trying to make themselves more attractive to the narcissist, without realizing, of course, that you can't control that which is not designed to be controlled, and that your time, your energy, your emotion is all being poured into somebody who does not deserve it. The article states, you might also realize you don't really know very much about them, like where they live or work, and when you start to check out the things they've told you, none of it seems to stand up. Indeed, through plausible deniability, you're given bits of information by the narcissist, the grandiosity in making claims which are not supported because there's no emotional empathy to tell you the truth, a sense of entitlement to tell you these lies, the expedience of saying whatever is necessary to assert control over you, irrespective of the reality that supports it. The article asked, why do people become players? Most players are looking for a fix for their ego, and fundamentally their actions are about power and control. They get it partially right. It is about control, and power is the receipt of fuel. Of course, they don't realize that this is a pathological behavior and that people don't become players by suddenly making a decision. They are players as a consequence of their narcissism. They explain luring you into their trap provides a temporary euphoria, which soon wears off. That, of course, is when the fuel runs stale. They then feel compelled to leave and repeat the whole process again with their next victim. And indeed, the process of disengagement, process of devaluation while seducing somebody else, and then disengagement and the promotion of that new person to primary source. The article states that the player is often scared and feels unlovable, thus they are drawn to intense short relationships rather than longer, more sustained attachments. They are incorrect about the feeling of being scared, and they're incorrect about feeling unlovable. Of course, what is behind that is the need for control. And of course, a narcissist might actually say, I don't feel that I can be loved, but that's just a pity play that's being utilized for the assertion of control over the relevant individual. The fact is that this description of the player is fairly accurate in terms of describing, guess what? A narcissist. Yet the word is not used. Now, of course, in the context of this article, the term player is in much wider usage, and therefore one can understand that they use the term player because people are more familiar with it. If they were to say, what is a narcissist and watch out for them, they may not understand. The difficulty is that the article doesn't go far enough in terms of educating people to understand what's really going on. They, of course, explain that they talk about the extreme emotional consequences for their often vulnerable victims. That is accurate. And they talk about that it would be a better approach to develop a more robust response to excessive flattery, to take time to get to know a potential partner and listen to gut instinct. That if someone is overly confident, pushy, or asks you to do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, for instance, loaning them money when you've just met, don't be afraid to sever all contact. Those are sensible observations. But the point remains that the concept of the individual that is a player and the continued use of that term euphemizes what is a narcissist. Euphemizes and downgrades the behavior of a narcissist. An individual who basically utilizes a person in order to get what is wanted, namely the prime aims, through sex and a romantic relationship, whilst juggling with other people, isn't a player, although they get that title. They are a narcissist. A person who has emotional empathy doesn't behave that way. Even a normal person won't behave in that manner. Yes, where there's an erosion of emotional empathy as a consequence of external factors, a person might cheat, but they won't habitually engage in this pattern of behavior of luring people in, having several people on the go at once, and then shipping them out and shipping them back in, disappearing, reappearing. All of that behavior is commensurate with our kind. And therefore, it is important for people to understand that whilst the term player has come into popular usage to describe the type of individual this article refers to, what they're really talking about is the narcissist. And they would do well to recognise that it's much more than what this article refers to. The deep-seated pathological nature of the behaviour is such that it is commensurate with that of the narcissist. People should realise that when someone talks about a player, this isn't just some superficial guy who's a bit wee and a bit wah and a bit of a wide boy, and he comes in a blaze of energy and he charms the pants off people, and he's got a few birds on the go, and he's always dating a few people, and he's a bit of a schmuck for doing so. But essentially, there's no more to it than that. There's far more to it than that. And that is the danger with such labels being utilised, where it is a narcissist but has been described as something else. All subschools of narcissist can be a player, i.e., they're all narcissists, therefore they can behave in the manner which is described as a player. But there's one subschool that really fits the bill more than any other, and that's the upper lesser type A narcissist. These narcissists are whirlwinds of energy. They're the type of guy where they will turn up at a party and it's, woohoo, here I am, Coke, beer, winning. And they charge around for 3 hours, chatting to everybody as if they've known them, making a lot of noise, dancing, getting people up on the tables, the life and soul of the party, and hugely entertaining. And then they suddenly disappear. And people ask, who was that individual? I don't know. Did you invite him? No idea. I thought he was a friend of his. And nobody necessarily knows who he is. He gatecrashes because of his sense of entitlement and lack of boundary recognition. He will, of course, got numbers from various women. He may well have been taking one into a bedroom and having sex with her, coming down and then ignoring her and picking up somebody else and taking her to a different bedroom. Such is the superficiality and compartmentalization by which this player narcissist operates by. The upper lesser type A is this dervish, this whirlwind of energy that will have numerous partners on the go, invariably intimate partner secondary sources, and may even have an intimate partner primary source in devaluation whilst juggling all of these different intimate partner secondary sources. You will invite them to your birthday. Whether they turn up is anybody's guess. If they do, they can be exciting and fun, but you are never to rely upon them. They are utterly superficial. And one of the key indicators of the upper lesser type A is this player-like lifestyle, but it is actually the behaviour of a narcissist. So, is the player a narcissist? The answer is yes. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.